We all have stories such as it was a beautiful day to go for a walk. Out, sun shining, wonderful day. We're enjoying it, right? Well, some clouds start to roll in. I think not much of it. It just starts getting a little chillier and brisker. You can feel the wind pick up leaves and blow them in front of your feet. Well, that's kind of odd because there seems to be a little more crunching going on than just leaves blowing and falling to the ground. You hear some sticks snap behind you, and then it sounds like branches being ripped off of trees. You wonder to yourself, what's going on here? Then you get this dark, gloomy presence that seems to be coming in from behind. Then you get the thought, I need to look behind me to see what's coming. You whip around, there's Sasquatch. Okay, well, maybe not all of us have stories like that, but we know people who do. We've heard those types of stories before. These stories take part in our culture in the Pacific Northwest. They take a part in our everyday lives all over the United States as is, and people frankly seem to full-heartedly believe it, and it seems to affect our everyday lives. From they have a monster truck named after them. Sure, there's restaurants, there's stories, there's books. People have made a living off of Sasquatch stories, written books, artifacts, you name it. People have made money off it. Today, we'll be going over the history of the history behind the folklore Bigfoot. Today, we'll cover what is folklore. Then, we'll go over what's the original premise behind Bigfoot. Why is Bigfoot such a thing? Like, why is there a story? And then, we'll go over why has the story lasted so long. The Bigfoot creature has came to light, so we must go into the darkness to explore it. A folklore is traditions, beliefs, and customs and stories of a community passed down from generation to generation by word of mouth. Tends to usually be how. Alan Duns proposed the idea for a folk idea in 1971. This allowed, because at the time, all the people in this field of study had not the ability to have an overgrowth of an idea. They had more of a specific, they were trying to stick the ideas here, and here. But too many cultures and beliefs were getting generalized into one section because they weren't allowing themselves to expound on a bigger idea and not just singularity beliefs. So he came up with that idea in 1971, which allowed for the whole, all the Ted Bunyan, Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, to all come into one category instead of being generalized over a large platform. And all stories seem to have a background, so we must take a look in to study what's going on. In 1958, a journalist named Andrew Genzel from Humboldt Times produced an article of loggers that had found large footprints in the mud while they were logging in Northern California. And for everyone who doesn't know, this red county right here is Humboldt County in Northern California. So there's a large Bigfoot following in this part of California and all along the West Coast for that sake, but mostly just in Humboldt. This is an article produced all over California. They were having competitions at the time to who could find Bigfoot. So this is an article saying that San Francisco, that the loggers from Humboldt County one-upped San Francisco's Bigfoot exploration people. So Andrew also produced another article that he jokingly wrote in, maybe we have a cousin to the abominable snowman here, which, along with a few more articles he wrote expounding on this idea, the name Bigfoot came into play. Obviously, they found a Bigfoot, why not just name him Bigfoot? This isn't the only time such stories have been spread. From the late 1800s, the Washington government has claimed from the late 1800s to early 1900s that people have been reported seeing a wild man, or they have seen a hairy, big, large person thing running through the forest. They found large imprints in the sand, but nothing was proven, nothing was quote-unquote captured, like the clay foot model that everyone was finding. They hadn't been able to prove that there had been a sighting whatsoever. You might ask, why is this still a story? Why, since the 1800s, are we still telling a similar story to what we have since the 1950s? Why is this story lasted so long? Well, let me tell you. Here we have a map of all the Bigfoot sightings around the United States. You can largely tell that in the West Coast, along the Rocky Mountains, along the Appalachians, up around the Great Lakes, and also a lot in Florida. This is because in those general regions, they have the woody terrain and everything you would need for a Bigfoot creature of sorts to live in. So, these stories have been passed down, like we said before. The folklore tradition doesn't stop just because we're in a new modern age. From day one, these stories have been passed through your life. It's been told trillions of times since you were born. It's wound its way into society because people have been frequently telling these stories. Especially since looking at the map, we see that the geographical locations are a primal breeding ground for the understanding, or not the understanding, but the premise behind it gives it a perfect breeding ground for this story to evolve and for it to just keep being told, which helps it stay into society for longer. Unlike the legend of Bigfoot, this speech must come to a close. And I just want to thank you guys for being able to go over the ideas with me about what we covered today, about what is folklore, what is the original premise behind Bigfoot, why is that a story, how and why has the legend lasted so long? Even though it's been years since the origin story, we still haven't found out why such a Bigfoot. At this time, I would like to open the floor to any questions that anyone may have.